Okay, so today is a continuation of what we did yesterday, solving inequalities by multiplying and dividing. But today we're going to look at what happens when we have a negative number. So what happens if I multiply or divide both sides of an inequality by a negative number? Well, if we look at 2 is less than 6, if I multiply negative 1 times 2, and I multiply negative 1 times 6, then on this side I have negative 2, and over here I have negative 6. Which one is greater, negative 2 or negative 6? Negative 2 is actually greater than negative 6, right? All right, and let's look what happens over on the other side if I divide by negative 1. Now I have negative 6, and I have positive 2. So which one of those is greater? The positive 2. So if you look and see what happened here I had a less than, but after I multiplied by a negative, it became greater than. On the second one, I had a greater than, but when I divided by a negative, it became less than. So what happens is that when you multiply or divide by a negative number, then you must reverse the inequality symbol. Okay, you have to flip it over. When you multiply or divide by a negative number, you must reverse the symbol. Now, this doesn't mean that anytime there's a negative in a problem, you're going to reverse the symbol. It's only when you multiply or divide by a negative. Okay, that's the only time. Just because there's negative numbers in it does not mean you flip things around. Do you guys understand the difference? Okay. So for example 4, we have negative 12x is greater than 84. All right, so the x is being multiplied by negative 12, and the opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 12. Okay, I'm dividing by a negative, so what do I have to do to the symbol? Switch it around. So now, instead of greater than, I'm going to make it less than. And so the negative 12s cancel out, and I have x, and negative 12 goes into 84 7 times, but it's a negative 7, because we have a positive divided by a negative. And then, of course, when you graph it, it's going to be an open circle going to the left. Okay? Does that make sense? Ready to try one yourselves? Alrighty. So on your whiteboards, I'd like you to do this problem. Negative 5x is greater than or equal to 30. And graph your answer. Solve it and graph it. Okay, so you divided by negative 5, and you got x was less than or equal to negative 6, so it was a closed circle going to the left. Any questions? Okay. All right, this next one's for your notes. Now I've got negative 8 is less than or equal to x over negative 3. So what's being done to the x, Ryan? What's being done to the x? What's x over negative 3 mean I'm doing? Dividing. What's the opposite of division? Multiplication. So I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 3. All right, so negative 3 times negative 8 gives me a positive 24. And then I have positive x on this side. So again, before you graph it, oh wait, what did I do wrong? I forgot to switch the sign. My bad. All right, switch the sign, but now I'm going to flip it over so that I can graph it. So x is less than or equal to 24. So is this one open or closed? Closed, and it's going to the, which way is it going? To the left. Okay, so on your whiteboards, you guys get to do that one. So on this one, we're seeing some of you guys are getting caught up with those negatives. First of all, I'm going to multiply both sides by -5. Some of you apparently missed one of the negatives. I multiplied by a negative, so what do I have to do to the sign? The symbol, what do I need to do to it? I need to flip it. So -5 times -3, you get a +15. And then you have x. And then some of you forgot to write it the other way, and then that messed you up when you went to graph it. Some of you were able to graph it fine from the other one, but if you're making mistakes, then make sure you switch it around so you know which way the arrow should go. All right, so this one you should have had a closed arrow, closed circle, and the arrow going to the left. Okay, another one for your notes. All right, now I have x over -8 is less than or equal to -3 over 4. Okay, when you are doing these problems, this looks kind of like a proportion where you used to cross multiply, but you're not going to know which way the symbol should go if you cross multiply. So I do not want you to cross multiply on these. So make yourself a note. Do not cross multiply. So instead of cross multiplying, what do you guys think I should do? What's being done to the x? It's being divided by -8. And the opposite of division is multiplication. So that's what you need to do. You need to multiply both sides by -8. Just, it's 8 over 1, right? Okay. So on the left side, the -8's cancel out, and I'm just left with x. And then you have to remember to flip the symbol because we multiplied by a negative. And then on this other one, can I reduce it? Yeah, I can reduce it first. So 4 goes into that, and that becomes -2. So -3 times -2 gives me +6, yeah. So I end up with x is greater than 6. So when you graph it, is this one going to be an open or closed circle? Closed circle going to the right, yes. Okay. So I have one for you guys to do on your whiteboards. Again, don't cross multiply. Be careful with your negatives and remember to reverse the symbol. Okay, so you should have multiplied both sides by -3, and again, you can write it as -3 over 1 if you want to. And then you end up getting -3 over 2 on the left is less than x. So if you write it the other way around, x is greater than, and I changed it to a mixed number, -1.5, because then it's easier to tell just where it's going to go on the number line. And so -1.5, it should be an open circle, and it should have been going to the right. Okay, so now we've got a word problem, and you're going to have some of these possibly on your homework. So let's write this down. Ryan has a $25 gift card to Jamba Juice, where smoothies cost $4.50. Write and solve an inequality to find out the possible number of smoothies he can buy. Ryan has a $25 gift card to Jamba Juice, where smoothies cost $4.50. Write and solve an inequality to find out the possible number of smoothies he can buy. Okay, so can he spend more than $25? No. Can he spend less than $25? Yes. Okay, so $4.50. How much could he spend? Like, how much would you figure out? Like, if he bought 3 smoothies, what would you do to figure out how much he spent? He bought 3 smoothies at $4.50 each. You would multiply, right? So $4.50 times the number of smoothies can be no more than the $25 gift card. So that if we write that as an equality, 4.5, I'm going to put m because I don't like using s for a variable, has to be less than or equal to 25. Okay, so because he can't spend more than 25, but he could spend exactly 25. And then you divide both sides by 4.5. Okay, so that means we're dividing 4.5 into 25. And because of our decimal, we move it over 1. And you end up getting 5.5 with the repeating decimal. Okay, so you end up getting that m is less than or equal to 5.55555 forever. Can you ever get part of a smoothie? No. So what he could get is from 0 to 5 smoothies, and that would be your answer. Okay, thank you.